No matter if you are in a long-time relationship or a new couple just starting out, the pressure to have that perfect Valentine's Day can be daunting. And joining us live with some pointers for the big day, the Gottman Institute's Carrie and Don Cole. Good to have you with us this morning.
Good morning. Thank you.
Okay, so what is your biggest Valentine's Day don't do this?
I would think it would be, don't think that you can use Valentine's Day, whether it's presents, gifts, attention, to make up for 364 days of distancing or mistakes. And that we can have a wonderful gift-giving exchange that's based on a year of negativity.
I think that's really good. Actions, not words necessarily, right? So how about you guys? How do you deal with Valentine's Day?
Well, I got flowers delivered at the office the other day.
Yeah, so we plug the company up. There's a great florist in Seattle, though.
But we usually make that a time that we spend together. And it's more about spending the time together. And a lot of times we would go out to dinner. We don't, with the pandemic, that's usually a dinner at home. At least it has been for the last couple of times. But usually we make it a point to devote some time, and not just on Valentine's Day, but regular kind of weekly time that we just tune into each other.
Great. Yeah, actions, not words.
Yeah, right. I think that's the important thing, is that a happy Valentine's Day comes from a happy relationship. In Gottman Institute and John Gottman Science, we learned a lot about what causes relationships to move forward and get bigger and happier, and what causes them to decline. A lot of it just has to do with how we treat each other and continue to connect as friends. Romance and sex actually is based on good friendship connection.
All right, so how about a couple that's just starting out? I mean, how do you handle Valentine's Day in that situation?
I think it might be helpful to talk about Valentine's Day before Valentine's Day, to learn what expectations are. I think that some individuals might have some pretty high expectations for Valentine's Day. And then they might be setting themselves up for disappointment if they are not communicating that and just hoping that their partner might read their mind or would just automatically know, right? Especially if it's a new relationship, how is somebody supposed to know? We're still in the process of learning about each other.
Right.
Go ahead, Bill.
Oh, no, I was just going to ask another question, but please go ahead. I want to hear what you had to say, Don.
Well, one of the things we're big believers in are rituals of connection. In other words, what do we do either formally or informally that brings together over time? How do we go to bed at night? How do we have breakfast in the morning? How do we celebrate Valentine's Day? And a new couple, they may have different assumptions. One person might think, oh, that's just a Hallmark money grab.
Right.
And they have a really negative association, but their partner doesn't see it that way. So
so that leads me into my next question. So what if you're with someone who says, I do not want a gift. It is a Hallmark holiday. I'm not down with this at all. I do not want a present. How do you deal with that?
Maybe ask what, if anything, they would like to do to commemorate kind of this day of romance and connection.
Or how do we celebrate our romance and connection? If Valentine's Day is a turnoff, what's a turn on? What brings us together? Instead of focusing on, oh, I hate that, it's a money grab. Okay, maybe it is for some people, but I personally don't think that. But if it is, that's okay. How do we celebrate? What makes sense to you as my partner, especially new partner, as you said, that causes you to feel loved and celebrated and important?
Carrie and Don Cole with the Gottman Institute, and some really great perspective ahead of Valentine's Day. Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you for having us.